Good afternoon, Professor. My name is Miguel. The book that I was assigned to read was The White Babies. Firstly, I'm going to talk about the contextual framework. Then I'm going to talk about the semantic framework. I will proceed talking about the linguistic framework. And lastly, I will talk about the British citizen according to the book. Okay, so let's get started. Charles Kingsley was born in Home in United Kingdom on June 12, 1890. He was a clergyman, he was a university professor, he was a historian, and he also was a novelist. The book is intended for children, but adults can also read it. What makes this book so interesting is that adults can read it as well as children, and they can learn moral lessons. The interesting part about this book is that Charles Kingsley uses fantasy as a vehicle for affirming the value of faith. The good thing about this book is that Charles Kingsley he encourages people to believe in the unseen, to believe in something, whether it is proof or not. So let's continue. Now, talking about the cultural period, Kingsley Extraordinary Children's Fantasy, and the book is regarded as one of the best in its times. And this edition reprints the original first edition, and this book also explores the multiple phases such as social polemic, topic satire, moral fable, and evolutionary thought. This book also explores the genesis and context of Kingsley's tales and its linguistic oddities and multiple genres. Its delight in nature and scientific discovery mixed with romance and a little bit of mythic symbolism. Now, talking about the Victorian age, it was at the same time of the Romantic period, and poetry had been a dominant genre, and it was the novel that was more important in the Victorian period. Now, going on to the literary period, where the Victorian novels tend to be idealized and portrait of difficult lives in which hard work, perseverance, love, and luck win out in the end. Virtue would be rewarded as the wrongdoers are terribly punished. Also, in this book, we see a little bit of religious part. As we can see, most of the people are religious and most of the people are Catholic. They believe in God, but what makes this book so appealing is that the book Charles Kingsley mocks scientists for not believing fairies, as well as Christians who fear science. I think that most people who are Catholic, they have a lot of fear when scientific say something that has to do with evolution. One of the most interesting part of this book is that Charles Kingsley encourages people to believe, just to believe in the unseen, things that are not proven, but he encourages people to believe even when we think that some people or things don't exist. We have to believe. Now going on to the historical period, the Victorian era was an important time for the development of the science, and the Victorian had a mission to describe and classify the entire natural world. Much of this writing doesn't rise to the level of being regarded as nature book, but one in particular, Charles Darwin, in the book on the origin of species, that remains famous in Britain. Now I'm going to talk about some of this book, The Origin of Species, that he has to do with evolution. Charles Kingsley encouraged people to think a little bit more of the things that sometimes we do things and we not face the consequences of those things. And also, he uh, he has written a lot of moral lessons in this book, and he also has to do with the evolution that the people and things evolve. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the semantic framework. Now, Charles Kingsley, he says that this story is about Tom and his master, Mr. Grimes, and this book takes a significantly large step away from the grim didactic moralism and traditional Victorian children's literature. The White Babies remain the work of a faithful British Victorian preacher for Kingsley's views on faith, morality, and education. And now, Kingsley refers to cleanliness and dirtiness in the book, but he refers to two specific things. One of them is the hygiene, of course, and the other thing is the spiritual health. He talks a little bit about Tom. He's a boy who is badly treated by his master, and he always has this feeling that he wishes to be clean. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Kingsley work, that in this book he demonstrates that the manner in which fantasy emerges in moral lessons and pure imagination. In this book, Charles Kingsley, he's trying to encourage people that we have to be open-minded and imaginative, that we can believe in many things. Another thing to take into consideration is that this book convey a lot of lessons, especially for children because it's a fairy tale, but also for adults. On a closer examination of this book, we can see that this book is rich on moral lessons, but also religious parallels. Now, the Water Babies attempts to reconcile the scientific learning with Christian faith. As I said before, Charles Kingsley uses fantasy as a vehicle to encourage people to have faith in things, that we have to have faith in the things and we have to believe in some things. Sometimes we just are narrow-minded, so if some things are not proven, so we just don't believe. Very good. Now, as I said before, Charles Kingsley mocks scientists who not believe in fairies, as well as Christians who fear science. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the linguistic framework. This book is extremely popular in England, and it was for British children's literature of many decades, but eventually fell out of favor in part due to its prejudice against Irish, Jews, Americans, and the poor people. Kingsley expresses many of the common prejudices of the time period, and the book includes dismissive or insulting references to Americans, Jews, black people, and also Catholic people, and particularly the Irish. Now, some of the figurative speech that I found in the book. I found a simile on page 24, and it says like this: Tom was as cunning as an old Exmoor stag. I also found an euphemism that is related to replace a word to sound more polite. Grimes was very sulky because the woman preferred Tom's company to his. That we can find that part on page 12. Now we can find another simile, that there was no place to hide, but Grimes looked about, and Tom also, for he was as puzzled as Grimes himself at her disappearance on page 13. I also found an onomatopoeia, like an old tower screaming "Kukuruku, Kukuruku." Also, I found a personification. Another part that I found in the book, it was a exaggeration. When all the world is young plural must have its course and every dog is day. That we can find that exaggeration on page 52. In the book, I found a lot of words that nowadays people don't mention, but I knew them because I have read a lot of books and I have found so many words like thou and thou on page 12 and 35. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit of British people. There are a lot of stereotypes that describe British people, such as being cold, dry, and prudish, and also they are arrogant and hypocritical, and also judgmental and opinionated. British people are very suspicious and they also pride themselves on being pragmatic, down-to-earth people, and have a little patience, and they don't like to discuss abstract things too much. And they often go through cultural identity crisis, and they are often find themselves wondering what it actually means to be a British person. The British man has a lot of pride. Reading now, I realize that reading the book for me wasn't really awesome because it made me think about life, such as moral lessons, imagination, and religious parallels. To believe in things and things that are not exist. Now that was my presentation. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for your time, and that's it. Okay.